Blog Talk Radio.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. You're tuned into CE Radio with your host, Jeff Roberts. And across from me, we have our other fellow agent of change and member of the CE team, Mark DiNicola. Say hi, Mark. You guys are just listening to music from our friend and recording artist, Anthony Tallata, from his album Rise. You can check out his YouTube channel, Anthony Tallata Music. He's got some really great stuff on there, and he's just about to release a new album, too, actually. So be sure to check that out. We'd like to say as well, guys, if you have any ideas that you would feel make for an interesting show and conversation, please email us, because we're always open to new topics at contact@collectiveevolution.com. We like to talk about unique topics, so we're always accepting things from you guys. We want to make this a community, and we want to keep the conversation going. So please do that. For our listeners tonight, get active in tonight's conversation. We have a chat going on, and we have a number on our Blog Talk Radio show page. So you can call in with any questions you have for our guest or for any members of the CE team. And tonight we're talking about waking up. Seems like a pretty simple subject, but it's become convoluted in the past couple of years as this shift in consciousness has been pushed into the mainstream, for lack of a better word. And we'll be talking about navigating through these massive internal, external changes that are taking place among everybody. We're really happy to have Vanessa Petronelli back on our show tonight.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me back. This is the third time.
Yes, it's the trilogy.
Yeah.
This has been really exciting. She's a certified life coach and yoga teacher, mindfulness teacher, and many other things. She's a busy lady these days.
Yeah. Lots and lots going on. Talk about navigating through change.
Yes. Fill us in. What's been up lately?
Oh, well, since we've last met here, which was about 3 weeks ago, not a heck of a lot in the sense that my whole world has been flipped upside down, but I'm just going through a ton of transition with my business. As most of you know, I'm introduced as the owner of Open Heart, Open Mind Health and Wellness Services, and I'm totally transitioning over to just being represented by my name. I don't run a clinic, I don't run a yoga studio, and I think that seems to confuse people at times.
Right.
So we're just going to Vanessa Petronelli, probably vanessapetronelli.com. So we're working on my website right now and going from being more offline with clients, meaning seeing them more in person and having half of my clients online, to going fully online, because I would like to take my work internationally and start to help more people around the world, and this will give me more time and the freedom to do so. So, I'm starting to open that channel up to speaking with more people from around the world and being of more service and even greater service to people all over the planet, because being here and being more offline has kept me more local. It's been perfect, though. It's exactly the way it needed to be, and it's unfolded exactly as it had to. So I'm really feeling a call internally, which is all about the things that we're going to be talking about tonight too, around change and going to the next level with our lives and with our own being. So lots of change, but it's exciting. So yeah, just really getting myself moving out of my office currently and going online. That's the latest.
Yes, we're really excited about that. And I think that going online is very relevant for our times. I think everything's moving towards that with, Google Hangouts and Skype sessions and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that your business is moving towards a smart direction.
Thank you, Jeff. I feel so as well. Yeah, I do. And, it's convenient, and not to mention it's environmentally friendly. Right?
That's right.
You don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to get into your car and burn gas, and
Absolutely.
It's so much more convenient and so much more friendly for the environment. So I think it's a win-win for everybody involved when you start to do more of your work online, and it keeps us, more connected globally this way too. And You can do so much work online. You work with groups. You can do the things that we're doing. Like, if it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't have been able to do this tonight, right? So.
Oh God, it's amazing. It's changed the world.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to do so too as technology advances. So tonight we're talking about waking up, this shift in consciousness. That's that generic term that gets thrown around so often. I'm sure that you've seen with a lot of your clients in the past couple of years. It's just growing. It's expanding at a momentous pace.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what have you noticed with your clients? Like, what kind of things are they experiencing with these external, internal changes? What kind of things have you noticed?
Well, I think it happens a little. It shows up differently. I think for everyone, and often I like to explain the whole process of waking up to people. It's sort of asking the question, like, have you felt this internal restlessness that you may have everything going for you in your life, everything that you've maybe always dreamed of or worked toward or achieved, but there's just something that is just off or not fully feeling right, or you're just not feeling completely aligned with something, but you can't put your finger on it almost. So sometimes for some people it shows up really subtly like that, and it's just this curiosity around what that feeling is within them. But for many people, that can, they can go their entire lifetime feeling that way. For others, it starts to become literally a big wake up. So people have become sick or experienced really, really catastrophic or traumatic experiences where their whole world literally feels like it's been rocked upside down. They'll lose jobs, they'll lose family, they'll have divorces, they'll have their health issues, lose all, basically lose everything that they, have believed is them. So, the waking up process is about really understanding and connecting to who you are on a deeper level. Precisely like the work that I do is all about that, and facilitating people through those changes. But a lot of the times we don't really know what that means and what it is and what we're exactly experiencing, because nobody talks about this kind of stuff in the masses or in the mainstream, right? We just talk about, it's a midlife crisis or your quarter-life crisis if you're in your 20s, for those of you who are younger, or you just have a little bit of a 7-year itch, where you need to change your life kind of thing.
It's like these generic transgenerational advice that is given to you by your parents or by your boss, and it doesn't really help explain exactly what's happening.
Well, and what often happens in sometimes some of those circumstances, that we tend to just start to cover it up or pretend it doesn't exist, or we start to engage in something else that fills that void temporarily, but we still go through that our whole lifetime with that inner yearning. But the wake-up process now, I'm finding, is intensifying for a lot of people. So we're not really able to navigate through the same waters as we used to, meaning you may not be able to go through your whole life filling that void with external gratification or external means anymore. It's really, we're getting called to step up and really change who we are and how we perceive the world on a much, much deeper level. And it's not coming from external means anymore. It's coming from our internal self. So, the world around us, as you can see, a lot of things, systems, structures, paradigms are beginning to really collapse. Like, we're really beginning to see the illusions that we've bought into as a society, and we're beginning to see the illusions that we've been buying into, the lies we've been buying into within ourselves. So the waking up process is really about waking up to what's true, what's really, really true.
And then even, keep taking that waking up process a little bit, making it a little simpler. It's basically just being more conscious about every decision you're making in your daily life, whether it be, getting on the health and wellness bandwagon, or doing your own research when it comes to information being fed to you by these big systems that have always fed that information, but now you're doing that research yourself. So you're just making more conscious decisions in your everyday life, and therefore you have that shift in consciousness, right? The waking up process.
And I don't know about you, Jeff, but I find it's also beginning to question your reality around you. It's posing those questions about, the corporations and the structures that are in place and the way you've sort of been living your life and why things are the way they are.
Rather than blindly accepting, you're saying.
Exactly. And that kind of can sort of embark that process. It's like, you're ready to step outside of the box and you're starting to look at the world around you that's not a part of that box or wasn't included within that box.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so, I mean, we talked about this in our third documentary, which we released this February, Collective Evolution Through the Shift, and the whole idea was, trying to understand what these changes were, why they were happening and what was actually happening around the world. And I think one of the interesting challenges that we faced while filming, I mean, the pre-production process was 3 years because we were trying to keep information relevant and current, and we were trying to make a documentary that explained the shift, but trying to keep up with everybody's, expanding knowledge base was really hard. So we had to keep reshooting and rewriting and creating new concepts for the film because people were just evolving so quickly and knowledge was becoming, old news. And so that was one of the big challenges that we faced with the documentary. And, I know Joe, who did a lot of work with that, he was really struggling near the end. He was being like, everybody knows all this stuff already. It's really hard to create information that's current. And that's just a test to show how fast things are changing and how more and more people are really just taking control of this information that's coming in.
Yeah.
Taking control of the information and researching themselves.
But, as much as it is, coming in really quickly as well, everyone's on different levels and in different paths and journeys, right? So the information that maybe to us, because we're so, involved in this work and we've dedicated our lives to this, doing this day in and day out, it may feel like that information may be relevant because we've been sitting with that information for a really long time, for many years for some of us. But for many people, all of that information is still really new. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be some form of support and assistance for those who are just starting to question their reality, just starting to question themselves, starting to question the world as they've never done before. So, and that's what I had to talk with Joe back in the day too about that. And, I said, there's going to be people who really need that. And this is like the perfect time that information is coming out because, in the last 5 years of doing this work professionally with people, I've noticed in the last 2-3 years, this is like exploding. More and more and more people. They don't maybe, make it equivalent to an awakening. They might not come in and call it that, but more and more people need this work and need the help and need resources like the documentaries that you guys have been filming over these years to help them somewhere. It's such a great source of support. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many different mediums and resources that people can use to find information about all these changes that are happening in the world right now. I mean, CE is just one of so many alternative media websites that have popped up in the last 3-4 years. I mean, back in the day, there was maybe a couple documentaries regarding 9/11, and that was the basis for all the talk around conspiracy and change. And now it just seems like alternative news is outdoing the mainstream news. More people are turning to the internet, millions and millions of hits on all these websites as opposed to, listening to CNN or mainstream news, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is. And it really gives a voice for the truth to come out, I think, on many levels, too. I think people are really starting to ask that question. There's got to be something more to this. There's something that is not feeling right. It's not feeling congruent. And alternative news is where we're turning to because we're seeking more of the truth. We're seeking more of what is real rather than what we've been fed to think is real.
Right. And it's coming from the people rather than these big bodies of these, corporations that we're trusting. And this is coming from research that people are doing themselves, like everyday people like you and I, and that's the best part. It's like these communities that are being formed and this web of support and, the information's just flowing.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's really exciting.
It is.
I feel like our dear friend here, Mark, is all quiet. Cat's got his tongue tonight. What's going on there?
Well, I was running back and forth with some technical issues there for a second. Wanted to make sure everything was clean. But I'm here. I'm back now. I'm ready to go.
He's got our back.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I guess we needed him to be taking care of the technical issues. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mark, what kind of things have you noticed with this shift in consciousness? What are the main things that you want to talk about?
Well, it's definitely widespread. That's the main word. And being on the other end of collective evolution like we are, you can see it. I mean, other than messages of people looking for you to share their work, the second most common message that we receive on a regular basis through email and through Facebook messaging or through Twitter and all that stuff is always people feeling this push for change and wanting to see how they can be involved. So it's something that's completely widespread. I mean, when you flash back a couple of years ago, you'd have a couple people appreciating what you're doing, but not feeling the push within themselves yet. They're always just like, oh, wow, that's great, but it would be great to see a world with that. It's not realistic. That's what you would hear a lot. Now it's suddenly, what can I do because I know it's realistic. I know that it has to change. And it really seems like a lot of people are, rather than going to the mainstream media, they're coming to alternative media because the mainstream media is no longer being accepted at face value. It's something that inside it doesn't sit there, so they want to find somewhere else, and then they come to our sites and some of the other websites, and they see what resonates there, and they look at it with the same critical mind that they're now looking at mainstream media with, and that's why this stuff's blowing up. And it just really seems like the change that's going on is really widespread from people all over the world, and they're all looking for ways to come together. And I think that if we can establish a way to effectively come together or empower ourselves to do that, this shift or this change can, on a large scale, happen pretty fast.
And it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing the protests in so many countries.
Yeah.
People are not standing for things they don't want anymore.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
And the thing I like too is that people are actually taking action.
Yeah.
People are doing things. People are reaching out to us, and instead of, you know, in the past there are a lot more of people needing assistance. And although there's still a lot of that, I'm seeing a lot more people being like, listen, like I put together this little project. How can we collaborate? How can we work together to, you know, keep spreading this awareness and expanding people's normal ways of thinking, and so that people taking those action steps, which is what's actually going to create change, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like this whole shift that's taking place is just really helping us to expand very quickly, like expand our ability to look at things from a different perspective, a higher perspective. We're picking up information and knowledge, and we're soaking things in like a sponge right now. And it's interesting what you just touched upon too about people reaching out and wanting to collaborate with you guys, because, you know, a large part of what's happening even with my work with clients is I'm no longer noticing it's so much about just their own personal quote unquote stuff that's coming up. Like, yes, they have their own, you know, internal issues or things that are coming up in their reality or in their world that they're experiencing that they need to work through. But what I'm really seeing is that we're being really called to act quickly and having this urgency on developing people to stand in their calling and be in purpose. And that's where we start to collaborate and co-create together. It's like just about every session that I've been having over the last month somehow is ending up working towards what's your calling, what's your gift, what are you here for, and, you know, what's your purpose? Like, what are you here to do? How are you willing to facilitate and serve the planet in a greater way? Because the message that I always, you know, feel in alignment with is that now more than ever we need people to start really going out into the world and being that change we want to see. And it is totally possible because, you know, we're starting to be taken away from the frivolous stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter. You know, if we're in jobs just because we've got a good salary, well, it's not enough anymore. It's like all of a sudden it's that internal desire of like, I really want to do something that's really important, that's really meaningful, that where I wake up every day and I feel like I'm being used on something greater than just myself and my paycheck.
Fulfillment in your everyday life,
And it really comes from this ability to serve other people, to help other people. Like, that's one thing that I consistently hear when I talk to clients and people about their dreams, their goals, or their visions of their life. Everybody's like, I really feel like I'm called to help people. Time and time and time again. Now, some people might argue with me and they might say, well, you know, like attracts like, so you might be attracting people because like you like helping people or you help people. But I actually don't even believe that, because I never used to hear that at the start of my profession and my calling. I used to hear a lot of people thinking more on a smaller scale, like, how can this work serve me? How can it serve my life and make me feel better? Now it's not just that. It's like, how can I help other people feel really good? How can I help other people feel loved and supported? Like, how can I be of service to the planet, to the collective? And that's what's really exciting. Really, really exciting. So I think there's like a massive call to action now for us to band together and co-create together something so new and so amazing on this planet.
So true. Yeah, it's everyone's wanting to create positive change. And I found it really interesting, and I see that this change is kind of spilling its way into the media, and you see various celebrities who have so much power in their voice. You know, these celebrities have more power than politicians do, which is why a lot of politicians utilize celebrity voices. But you're seeing people like Jim Carrey and Alanis Morissette come forward and, you know, advocate,
spiritualism or, connecting with yourself, or, talking about awakening. I mean, Jim Carrey, we just released an article where he was ordered to give a commencement speech to this management class, I believe, graduating class, university class.
Yeah.
And, just totally giving such an inspirational speech saying, like, I have a quote right here. He said, "You could fail at what you don't want, so you may as well take a chance at doing what you love." Which is
I love
so
that.
cool, right? Because so many of us are so afraid to do what we love. And I used to have that discouraging voice, too, way back when I was a kid. Like, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write for TV and film. And I loved doing it, but I was so discouraged because I was like, you know what, that could never happen. It's so hard to make it as a writer. Like, I might as well go into the sciences and, follow that traditional path. So, I mean, I love that people with these big voices are saying that. It's really inspiring.
Who's the British actor that's quite well known that's been,
Russell Brand?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's been a big voice, too, really coming out publicly and challenging, the
these
media.
politicians.
No.
Like, one-on-one. Like,
right.
He means business, and he knows his crap.
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, for me, truly, one of the biggest leaders and role models and mentors in this business, and I'm looking right at her Starbucks, cup holder here, or whatever you call this thing.
The sleeve.
The sleeve. Thank you. Thank you. Is Oprah. Oprah Winfrey. To me, and I'm just speaking on my own opinion because I really, really look up to her. I believe is one of the greatest leaders in the shift in consciousness who's made all of this work become accessible to the masses. And I really, truly believe that her whole startup of the OWN network was to support that. Like, she finally was able to have her own network to bring out her own programming that was to support a large shift in consciousness. Like, who else do you know on mainstream, like, television is hosting, people like Gary Zukov. Super Soul Sunday. Like, all these, Brene Brown, like, got her work out. And,
Eckhart Tolle, she was one of the first to really promote him and push him to the mainstream, which is really cool.
There's so many people. Marianne Williamson, like, all these great, great, great people who have had a voice, but now when you've been, what's the term? You've been, like there's the Oprah term. I can't remember. My mind's drawing a blank here tonight.
There's one of many.
But there's a term about, when Oprah, has heard about you or she loves your work, that's it. Like, you're now well known and
you've made it.
You made it,
Right.
And so she's made probably a lot of these voices that were popular or were once really popular and has now brought them on a whole new scale and level at a time when we need it. Maybe, those authors or those writers or those mentors or leaders might have been known many years ago, or have been in this line of work for many years, but as soon as they've met Oprah and they've been on the OWN network or they've been on Oprah Winfrey's show, my goodness, everybody knows who they are. We have best-selling books, and now we're making work that was probably not previously as accessible, totally accessible and available to the whole world, which is just so amazing.
Yeah, she does a lot of great stuff, and I know there's a lot of people have their opinions on her as a tool for whatever purposes, but you can't deny the fact that she's done a lot of good for the world and a lot of good in empowering people, and especially women and children or people of lower socioeconomic statuses to really rise up and create a life for themselves. So I really admire that in her.
Yeah,
I think when it comes to people like Oprah or Russell Brand and stuff like that, it's really important that in pretty much anyone that speaks up, I'm sure we can find something in their history or something about their character that we may not on the surface agree with. We can't let that shape whether or not we agree with the message that they're helping to share, whether or not we agree with the book that they're helping or the author that they're helping to promote. If we resonate with that, it's important we don't tarnish those type of things, because as much as some people may disagree with other things that Russell Brand has done in his life, or as much as some people might associate Oprah with particular messages or with a particular group under some things, you can draw conclusions on anything. It still doesn't change the fact that this particular message carries some form of resonance and is nice and is great. So let's keep it really simple, stick in the moment of right now, and don't let the past or other things or other potential labels tarnish the ability of something to inspire you or to inspire others.
You can put a negative spin on anything, like you said, and it's what you take from it. When Russell Brand came out with when he first came out with, talking about the elite and, these systems that were in place, and, everyone was saying, well, where Russell Brand came from. He was dating Katy Perry, who was a puppet of the Illuminati. You can't trust him. And it's like, no. He was saying, giving an empowering message to this generation of people being like, we need to wake up, we need to band together, we need to create change. So whatever you chose to decide to take out of that, which was negative, how is that serving anybody? Which was really interesting. I was talking to Joe about that once too, and he wrote an article about it. It's what you take from it.
Truly, and I think sometimes when we really are pointing our finger at these people who are, really doing good, they are really making an effort to do good, it always comes back to having those three fingers pointing back at us. If you're so quick to judge and to point out the negative, like really, what are you doing to be the change? Like, how are you contributing to this shift? And how are you serving most powerfully to the greater good of all? It's really easy to criticize and to put down people, especially famous people too, I think really get a bad rap, and it's really easy for us to put them down because they are in the spotlight. But if these people are doing good, why not look at that and shift the attention to that versus pointing out what's not working or what is negative or criticizing or judging? Because really at the end of the day, I mean, you've got to ask yourself, like, how much am I doing? How much am I being that change in the world? Oh,
absolutely.
Because if we're really noticing the things that people are doing wrong, it's really truly because we don't feel like we're doing enough. So it's so easy to project, right, onto other people rather than take a good, hard look in the mirror at ourselves.
Yes, I think most of us are master projectors.
Yep.
We can all attest to that. But yeah, really, it's taking action in your own life and saying, what am I doing to create change? We need more of that. And there is lots of that. I mean, we're seeing that all the time.
Yeah. I think it's just going to continue to increase too as the months unfold. I mean, every month that goes by, I'm very intuitive, and I really do feel and sense energy. As I feel like most of us, when we start to wake up, start to have a lot more of that experience and become much more attuned to the energies and the frequencies that are coming in and the changes that are taking place, and we start to feel it on a physical level as well. And I just feel month to month, I feel like almost like a broken record to my poor clients sometimes. I'm like, well, this month's getting really intense, and it's like every month I'm saying that, but it literally feels like month by month that goes by, the energy just totally feels like it's really pushing us to really step up to the plate and to really do something and create something that's dynamic and different and by far more evolved than where we've been.
And we talked about this before the show too. You were saying that, people can't hide behind their stuff anymore. Like,
no.
We had all these like creative little curtains that we could pull over our problems and say this is how I am, but really inside you weren't. But now you can't hide behind those curtains anymore. It's like it's opening them up and being like, you have to deal with this because we have to move on and we have to make things happen now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're just firing up the programs and the mind and the unfinished business, the stuff we haven't wrapped up is really surfacing quickly, because you have to remember, if you look at it from an energetic scale, what the waking up and the shift in consciousness is, it's just like our energy, vibration on the planet and within our own body, which is made of the planet's energy, which is made of sun, moon, and stars, is shifting to higher frequencies. So anything that is not in vibration or not in harmony with these new energies that are coming in has to come up to purge and go, right? So a lot of this stuff that we've been hiding behind, which is mostly fear-based, if not all fear-based, that we're really not wanting to look at or pay attention to, is of such a low frequency. It's just not in vibration, not in harmony with where we're headed.
Yeah.
So that's why it's coming up so intensely, and it's starting to show up more and more each month. Like whatever we're not dealing with, whatever we're not going and working on head on, it's got to find its way to come up and out somehow.
Absolutely. I think something that Franco Di Nicola talked about before too, he used this metaphor of this room filling up with water, and you have this suitcase, all this stuff that you're holding on to. It's like you can choose to hold on to that suitcase and sink.
Yeah.
Or you can let it go and float with the rest of the water. And that's kind of what's happening now. People are really being like, well, I can't hold on to this suitcase anymore. I got to let it go.
Yes.
I got to let go of everything. So
totally. I have a similar analogy of like looking at all of us boarding this plane into our future. This plane's going to take us to that, whatever that is, our own utopia or heaven on earth, as you want to call it, or that perfect life that you are envisioning for the entire planet. But all of us have come to the gate with tons of luggages and suitcases and trunks, and it's like we get stopped by customs or, the security agent letting us onto the plane saying, what are you doing with all that stuff? Where's it going? You're saying, it's coming with me on the plane. No, I don't think so, sir or ma'am. You can't bring all that stuff with you into your future, into this utopia. Like, you don't need all that stuff. So all you're allowed to bring is one piece of luggage, a carry-on, and a personal item. And I had a quote, I think, recently around that on my Facebook page where I was saying, an airline charges for us to bring extra baggage, but we carry ours around for free. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, let go of your past, let go of your stuff, and learn the lessons, and just continue to move, toward a future where you're feeling lighter and where you are more in harmony with everything that's coming into the planet. You're in harmony and you're most up to date with what's happening currently, what is relevant now on the planet.
One of the things that I've noticed that's kind of catapulting people's massive changes is the initial change in their diet and nutrition. I think that really starts to, our diet obviously has a huge effect on who we are. We are what we eat. That saying is so true. And what I've been noticing around me, at least in my immediate circle, is people who may not have had the most healthy eating habits are really starting to catch on to all these people being like, okay, what is real nutrition? What have they been feeding us? How can I change my diet? What can I cut out? So, more and more people are cutting out dairy. More and more people are lowering carbs. More and more people are introducing, obviously, only organic items into their diet, leaving out the GMOs and the pesticides. And you're seeing this huge shift in people just from changing their diet alone, which, obviously makes sense. But that's one of the first things that I see in people when they're going through these shifts, these changes. I don't know if you guys can say the same thing, but for me, that's kind of when my awakening started as well. I was watching these documentaries around the food industry. Food Inc. was one of the first ones, and then I watched Earthlings, which was really, really eye-opening to see where our food's coming from, how animals are treated in these factory farms, and so I made all these changes in my life, and then the changes that happened after I started dieting or having a healthier diet was really momentous. Can you guys say the same thing?
Absolutely. And I think that for people out there that kind of doubt the existence of this shift or this change that's going on, it's also a great example of it. Because if you look at, obviously I've been surrounded by my father his entire life, or at least I know for sure the last 25 years, which has been my entire life, he's been vegan. So seeing that and knowing back in the day how difficult it was for him to find anything to eat and how abnormal it was and how everyone raised their eyebrows, thought he was a psycho, thought he was weird, thought he was a nut job, whatever you want to call it, to now you jump forward just 25 years and pretty much everywhere has an option. That's not only vegetarian, they'll have vegan options. You have places that are now incorporating gluten-free options, these are just normal. There's no such thing as weird anymore, and that's the power of us making changes. It started with him just doing that. Yeah, it might have been difficult, but it's not even difficult anymore. It's like there's so many people around me, including myself and like Jeff and Vanessa and other people that have made shifts, that have cut things out that we used to incorporate in our diets, that our bodies were very sensorial in depicting to us, I don't want this anymore, that it's something that's just easy to incorporate. I don't feel any day like I'm having a tough time finding something to eat. I don't feel like it's fully supportive of that. And I'm sure there are some exceptions around the world, but it's something that the shift is not only becoming more apparent, but it's becoming easier to be a part of. And I think that's the really exciting part. And it's important for us to apply that same theory to other things that maybe aren't as easy just yet, remembering that the more we step into them, the more we're willing to go down that path, the more easy they will become for not only us, but for everybody else. And it's like one of my favorite sayings, I don't remember who's actually quoted for it, but like, if not now, when? It's like, if you're feeling that push inside that your body can't handle red meat anymore, or maybe you can't handle soy or anything like that, how much longer are you going to keep eating it? What's the purpose? What good are you doing to anything, both within yourself and to other people, by perpetuating that and keeping yourself in that? So if not now, when? And the second that you kind of step into making it the present now, you realize it's not even that scary. Then you realize it actually feels pretty good. And then you realize you're not that alone within it, because a lot of other people are starting to feel the same thing, and you're now a living example of it.
Absolutely. Touching on that note of diet changing around the world, I was just down in Peru, and I'm
vegan, vegetarian. I don't really like labels because it's like labels limit us, but that's the majority of my diet is vegan. And I was worried going down to Peru because I think of these, second, third world countries that, are basically meat-based and carb-based. And I was like, how am I ever going to find anything? And, me and my partner and my group of friends, we were so shocked to find all these restaurants that offered vegan, vegetarian food. I mean, there was a plethora of them in all these small towns, So it just goes to show that this is changing everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that for many people who start to experience a shift within themselves, the diet is a very tangible way of gauging that there's something changing within them too, and it's one of the easier ways for us to start to make changes to ourselves. For myself, I'm not vegan. I was vegetarian for a while, but my desire to eat meat, I don't have a lot of attachment toward it. If I have it, I have it. I do need my protein and whatnot, but I can get it from a plant source or, something that's not animal product or animal related. But
right.
It started a lot for me too, even around the diet as well. I noticed that. And it starts a lot for many people on the physical, like their physical body. There's just this desire to change how they feel physically. They'll feel a fatigue or they'll feel a heaviness. And, it's usually associated for many people who start to wake up that, I've got to fix and clean up my diet. I got to fix and clean up, my workout regimen, let's say. But I also feel, too, just on a side note, that the more inner work that we do on ourselves, we use food a lot. We have a relationship with food just like we do with anything or anyone else. And, sometimes we are feeding ourselves that unhealthy stuff because we're not being mindful of what we're putting into our body. We're not present to what we're feeding ourselves. And we're not listening to the messages of the body. And often when we start to clear and purge out, old programs, mental programs, and belief systems and fears and suppressed emotions, we start to discover that we become lighter, right? Lighter energetically. And so we start to crave foods that are lighter. We don't want all that heavy, fatty, greasy, unhealthy stuff. We start to crave foods that are in alignment with and are in harmony with, our energy and our body. And the fact that we're starting to love ourselves more. So if we're loving ourselves more, we're caring more for ourselves, and we're doing all this work on our mind, body, and soul. We're only going to want to feed it, higher vibrational, as they call it, foods and beverages. I don't know about you guys, but one of the quickest things that I noticed, even when I first started to go through the wake-up process, is not feeling like the need to go out and drink alcohol. I, like probably many, people in their 20s, a typical Friday, Saturday night would very much look like going out with your friends and, drinking and going out. And I never dabbled in recreational drugs. That was never my thing at all. But I go out and have, a few drinks and enjoy myself, definitely. And the more I started to wake up and get to know myself and really tune in and started to do all this inner work, I just totally stopped craving alcohol.
Yeah.
Any sip of it would just make me feel ill. I would get headaches. I would feel awful. I would feel so down for days after, like
lethargic, depressed. Yeah. And
that was one of the first things that I sort of noticed changing in terms of my social life and the things that used to appeal to me, because that's what starts to happen. The things that used to appeal to you, like chicken wings and McDonald's and drinking on a Friday night, or maybe even recreational drugs if you dabble in that stuff. Now all of a sudden you're like, I don't really need that anymore, and I'm not craving that culture that supports that.
And you're not getting anything out of it. It's like all these vices that you had are kind of just becoming neutral and numbing. You don't get anything from them anymore, so that's a big part of the changes. And yeah, that relationship with alcohol, it's very interesting because our culture, alcohol is pushed in our faces. Like the amount of advertising that is put in behind alcohol is absolutely incredible. You see it, on commercials, you see it on sports advertisements. It's just assimilated into our culture. And, for me, my changes happened with alcohol when I started working with the plant medicine ayahuasca. I started working with it at a very young age, and it's a very powerful healing medicine. And when I started to do the cleanses that go along with ayahuasca, and after going through the ceremonies and really purging all these toxins, and then afterwards you come back to it and you try alcohol, you have a couple of drinks, it really puts you into tune what's happening when you're drinking alcohol.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're basically poisoning your body. So, the more that I worked with that medicine, the more that I realized that, alcohol doesn't really resonate with me. And like you said, I really started to become tired. I, wasn't really craving going out. I just wasn't being fulfilled by that stuff anymore.
Right.
So
right. No, I get it. And now it's more like if you do have a glass of wine or a drink or two, it's coming from a very different place too. I'm not going to sit here and say, I never have any drinks at all, but it's
of course
different. The intention behind your drinking now is different. I may have a glass of wine or two once every few weeks or a couple weeks, and it's not to have fun or to escape my life or to party. It's merely just to accompany a meal or, I'm out and I'm having a conversation with someone. Do I need it? No. You see, before I needed it to feel like I would have a good time or to feel like I, belonged with my friends or with everybody else. But do I need that or require that? No, if I feel the desire to have it, I don't have judgment around it. I enjoy the glass of wine or the pint of beer or the drink, and that's it. And I've noticed that when you come to that place, because it's so neutral, I'm so neutral around alcohol that it doesn't have that effect on me anymore. And same thing sometimes with food too, like I sometimes believe that there's a lot of people who are in the spiritual and, this is like talking about taking consciousness kind of, too seriously at times where they're like, oh, because I'm, in this shift and, I'm spiritual and I'm doing all this work, well, now I have to be vegan or now I have to, have everything natural in my life and I can't have a French fry or I can't have a drink. I can't hang around these people because they're not all awakened and, enlightened individuals. And it's still coming from judgment. That's the thing. That's the key around it. And that's the thing. Like when I shifted my judgment around it, because I was sort of following that path for a little while, around food, especially in beverages. When I shifted my perception around, I was like, I'm just neutral toward it. I don't need it. I enjoy it when it comes into my reality. And, I'm not going to hold myself wrong because I'm enjoying that for what it is, because it is still a human experience at the end of the day. But it has to be coming from a neutral place. It has to be coming from a place where we're feeling at peace.
Right. And I think one of the main things too with, before you eat quote unquote bad food or you drink alcohol or whatever, is you're setting your intent now. You're setting your intent before having a drink, and you're really using it as a way to connect either with your friends or to relax or whatever, right? So that's what I found too. Even before eating a meal, you set your intent into the food, and you send your gratitude, and a lot of people will say that's fluffy, but I really do believe in that, and I think that you're sending that you're changing the energy of your food or whatever you're choosing to drink or consume when you set an intent and put it into your body. Yeah. And that's something I learned too from my experience with ayahuasca.
I think let's just use an example of the really deadly bacon cheeseburger or whatever stuff like that is only increasingly deadly upon your body if you're giving it the conscious power to be that. You can still make choices of seeing whether or not you want to consume it, but and it goes on both sides. It could be if you're consuming it from the sense of, let's say you normally don't eat that, and you're eating it like, oh, I'm eating like shit today. That cheeseburger is going to be pretty shit for your body. It's going to take it because you're giving the consciousness to support that. Or if you're on the other end of like, you always eat that stuff, and it's shit, but you're just like, oh, yeah, I need to rebel against it. I don't want to attest to any label or stuff like that where I'm a vegetarian or I don't eat red meat. So, I'm just going to eat whatever the hell I want, even though I know it's shit. You're still supporting it with the same consciousness from a different side. So it's like, it is exactly what you both touched upon. It's coming to peace with the things, making decisions based on what you feel inside, but being at peace with those decisions. That's going to be the difference as to whether the bacon cheeseburger is going to hit you at a 90% hit or just a 10% hit. With the power of things like the placebo effect that we've seen in the past with various people's experiences, if you really needed to and if you are truly at peace, the bacon cheeseburger can be 100% positive for your body to consume and take whatever it needs to get from it. But getting to that point really requires a lot of peace, and most chances are your body won't even let you get to that point because it's going to speak up in terms of what it actually wants. But what I'm trying to illustrate is just the whole idea of the power of consciousness and how much what we think about what we're consuming, what we think about who we're talking to, what we think about the change that we're going through or that's on the surface waiting for us to look at, it plays such a big role. Any change that's going on is only as big as we make it and as much as we give it the consciousness to support it to be that way. We can just as easily look at that change and say, that's exciting. That's something I want to do. That's a new me that comes out of it, and suddenly it becomes effortless. Suddenly it becomes easy, even though it's the exact same change. Nothing changed about the actual change itself. I don't know. Just went off there in a little bit of a tangent.
Well said, well said.
So nice, like that.
Vanessa, you kind of touched upon this earlier. I mean, this whole seriousness that's involved with this shift in consciousness and being spiritual or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I find that what I found with a lot of people, there's this rigidness about committing to this kind of lifestyle, and it's you know, limiting in very many ways. And like you said, when you first come into this kind of information and you start making these changes, you have these attachments to these definitions of what it means to be spiritual, or what it means to eat well, or you know, what it means to be a conspiracist or whatever. And you know, something that I've learned, and this is recent too. I mean, it's just kind of taking a step back and taking everything lightly, because you know, that whole notion of life just being a cosmic giggle is so true, right? And we get ahead of ourselves with the seriousness of being spiritual and what it means, and having to abide by the rules of being spiritual or being vegetarian or vegan. And yeah, I think it's a good lesson for a lot of people to learn and to accept, is, you know, this is all really light stuff. Like, you know, step back, have fun. We're here to play.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that, and I've fallen trapped to this myself over the years. I mean, I can be really intense for those people who know me well. They know I can be really intense about this subject and about this work, and really passionate about it. But you know what I've learned over the years, that like we are here to just be light. We are here to play. We are here to have fun. And this process is about eliminating or purging of the things that are keeping our experiences and our existence heavy and in struggle and survival and fear mode, you know. So it's like when you start to expand and you do start to wake up, I mean, you start to feel lighter. And as you feel lighter, you're able to relax more into the flow of your life. You're able to play more. And we're not just talking about playing like playing with toys. We're talking about just playing and dancing through your life with such fluidity and with ease. I mean, what I notice even with a lot of clients, just, you know, to touch on this, is that when sometimes I kind of feel like the word work, you know, inner work, is not the best suited phrase or description of, you know, a shift in consciousness or a raise in your consciousness level. Because when we hear work, we automatically think serious. You know what I mean? We already think it's like, oh, this is going to be difficult. Another job. Oh, great. You know, and that to me is one of the descriptions that maybe needs to sort of change as we move forward, because the work that you're doing is really about in becoming more enlightened and lighter. You know, and it is to help you to create a life that is feeling fulfilled and you're feeling good. You know, you're not doing things that you don't want to be doing. You're not living a life that you feel has been chosen for you. You're choosing it, and you're choosing it from a lighter state.
Right.
So
I think a tool that people can use too, I mean, to keep things light, I mean, is first of all stepping out of judgment completely.
Yeah.
And coming to a space of observation instead. Because then you can observe yourself when you do things. You make certain decisions based around your ego, instead of judging yourself, being like, nope, can never do that. Be like, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, you're observing yourself, you're learning rather than judging, and I think that's a tool that we can all take and apply to our life to live a lighter life and to take this shift in consciousness a little bit more lightly. Just observe. You don't have to judge. You don't have to say anything. You know, that's a tool that I use at least a lot.
Me too.
And it helps. Yeah. You know, I'm not judging myself when I make these decisions that, you know, sometimes might not be considered spiritual, or, you know, I'm making decisions that are human, and I'm learning from them. And we're always going to be making human decisions, and we're living a human experience, so let's not get ahead of ourselves sometimes.
And one thing to remember too is you move on this path and you get to know more of yourself and you engage in this quote unquote work. Now I got to really watch that word. You know, the whole, I've just lost my train of thought, guys. I'm sorry about that.
You're human.
I'm human. There you go. Yeah, that's a perfect example. I'll come back to the point, and when it comes back up, I'll let you guys know. I'll interrupt you in the flow, but I apologize about that.
You've had a busy day. You've had a busy day.
It's true. It has been a busy day, so pardon me, guys.
It looks like we're running out of time here, guys, so we'll sum things up here pretty quick. But Vanessa, tell us about what you're working on the next couple months that you're really excited about. I know you kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the show. Tell us what kind of things you're focusing on and what's happening next for you.
Well, definitely more writing. I've talked to you guys about that. I do write for Collective Evolution. I've had a few articles that are on the main site. If you Google my name, or sorry, not Google, but search for my name on the website, Vanessa Petronelli, you will see my articles will come up. But I've also used to write for the magazine. I miss that. It's just been really a matter of time and energy at this point and getting some inspired writings out there. But I do have a lot of great topics that want to just come right out. So definitely be on the lookout for more of my writing. I'm hoping that we'll continue some more of these radio shows because they seem to be reaching more people each time we do this and assisting more people.
Absolutely.
New websites coming out. And again, I'm going to be, totally offline. So, I'm looking to start expanding my work. So for those of you who are worldwide listeners or international, listeners and are in need of assistance and you feel like you can connect, resonate, you vibe with me, would love to hear from you. Reach out to me through email. You can give me a call. You can go to my website, or you can connect to me on Collective Evolution or Facebook, Twitter. And when you find me, we can set up, a consultation call where we'll talk briefly about your needs and what's coming up for you. So again, it's going to be all offline, and I'm hoping to start making some offerings now as well to start bringing my work online. So, developing some online, courses, some stuff that you can do, personally on your own time that will just be sent to your email daily. So be on the lookout for those programs, in the next, few months, probably for sure rolling out in the fall, around August, September, October, and maybe some collaborations too. There's definitely some people that's on my radar that I've been looking to collaborate with, and we've been seeking each other out and starting to offer some joint collaborations to help, continue to facilitate this work. So that's like the biggest change for me right now, and a book on the horizon. I've had a book sitting on my hard drive of my computer for a year.
I hear ya.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's up with me, and just flowing, like riding all of this change and this shift out. I mean, I really feel like right now I'm in a total state of surrender and just allowing my soul to lead me. I'm feeling more pulled to moving to the States, and that's always sort of been a dream of mine. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm totally just allowing my spirit to guide me, and spirit knows best, guys. Don't fight that. When you're fighting your spirit, you will feel dragged throughout this process, and you will be dragged kicking and screaming. So, let go of the ego and just allow your spirit to lead you to where you need to go next.
That's exciting. That'll be a big move for you if you make it down to the States. I know there's a lot of energy and a lot of stuff happening down there.
Yeah, there definitely is. And what I'm seeing too, witnessing with a lot of the shift that's taking place right now, is just a lot of people are being moved to where they need to be now geographically. So a lot of clients I've seen noticing that all of a sudden it's like they're feeling called to move out west, or feeling called to make, moves out to the States or to Europe, all of that. So got a lot of shift and movement going on with people moving geographically to where they need to be.
Yep, I can say the same thing. I mean, I just moved out here to Ontario in the fall, and, big changes have happened since. So you're seeing it all around you for sure. No time for not doing anything. You have to make change right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that CE, we're working on a couple new projects too. We're relocating offices at the end of the month, so that'll be really exciting.
Yay.
We're going to have more space to start doing more video and media, more vlogging, and really getting our faces out there to the public and really connecting with the community, because I think that's really important, and we're feeling the push to do that. So that'll be really exciting as well. And I know that we've got some guests coming up really soon on the show that we're excited about, and we'll have you on the show again too, Vanessa. I know we've got a couple
Thank
interesting
you.
topics that will really get people interested.
Love that. Would absolutely love that. And we'd really like to start welcome people to like call in and start really interacting with us. I mean, I love to interact with people. I love you guys. And it's really great to hear our voices, but it would be so awesome to hear somebody else's voice calling in and letting us talk to us. Like, let us know what's going on in your world and what you want to hear, what you want to focus on, and we'll definitely begin to create some programs around the demand that's out there. So absolutely.
So everybody from the entire CE team and Vanessa herself, we wish you a fantastic evening. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and we will talk soon.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Peace out.